Both care fees and school fees have become hot election topics, and we get involved with both. Generally, for those fortunate enough to be able to pay them, or at least the means to plan to pay for them. The cost of education, of private education, is generally around half the cost of being looked after when you're old. That's around 25,000 a year for mid-range school fees. You're talking at least 50,000 a year for a lower cost care home, usually more. Interestingly, the principle of what we can organise for those who have the available means is actually quite similar. We'd say you should keep the first couple of years' fees in cash, perhaps half in an instant access account, half in premium bonds. The next couple of years in fixed rate accounts, so you're going to get a guaranteed return. And then if you're able to look 5 years ahead, you can afford perhaps to invest anything left over into something with a bit of risk for a better return, which you'll need because those fees are sure as anything going to go up by a lot more than inflation. Now, the funds for care fees often come from the sale of a house, and the cash for school fees is more often than not passed down from grandparents or another generation, one way or another. My question, and here's where it gets political, but unavoidably, I'm afraid, should we, as a point of principle, have to be paying for either? Well, there are plenty of arguments about choice, but for many not in the super rich or even pretty rich category, or the Eton and Harrow category, you might say, there isn't much choice, and many parents with any sort of aspirations for their children who happen to live in the catchment area of one of the many, sadly, mad, bad and dangerous comprehensives will probably go to any lengths to find other options. With care fees, if you have even reasonably modest savings, you won't get local authority help. If you do, the bigger problem is actually the lack of care available as much as the money to pay for it. The same problem which is clogging up all those hospital beds at the moment. Now, it's been 25 years since Tony Blair's Royal Commission on Long-Term Care reported. I've been doing this long enough to remember writing about that too, and guess what it said? It said it's a big problem, it will take a lot of money to fix it, but it needs to be fixed. And guess what? Nothing's happened. Sorry, that's all been rather depressing, and some would say perhaps a too overly political rant. Stick to financial advice, Philip. If you read my book review this week, however, of Poor by Katrina O'Sullivan, you'll perhaps understand something more of my current thoughts and influences and mood in this respect. What's my solution? Well, I have one, and that is don't get rid of national insurance, as certainly the Conservatives seem to want to do. I'd say instead bring it back to what it started out as, which was the sort of premium of a national insurance policy to provide cradle to care to grave care for everyone in the population. And sorry, that also means we all need to pay accordingly. Anyway, a couple of weeks to go, after which someone, I'm sure, will sort it all out for us.